So hey there everyone, welcome back to another walkthrough series. In this video we're going to deal with reading passage 3. A neuroscientist reveals how to think differently. So first things first, we have multiple choice questions. Now remember, when you're doing multiple choice questions, do not read the answer, as your brain tends to concentrate on the answers, and the options are pretty similar to each other. So just concentrate on focus on the question itself only. All right, so after that we have yes no given questions, and followed by finally with some classifications, or it's not a classification but sentence ending. So let's begin. All right, we're going to deal with common I'm sorry for that, but we're going to begin first of all by reading all the questions, maybe first of all, or let's just read the questions. All right, so neuroeconomics is a field of study which searches on what. So okay, actually green color. According to the writer, iconoclasts are distinctive, meaning they're different. According to the writer, the brain works efficiently because for a particular purpose. The writer says that perception is something like in terms of perception. All right, and then according to the writer, an iconoclastic thinker. Okay, so iconoclastic thinker, we wanna highlight that. All right, let me just remove one thing here. All right, there we go. Now let's begin. In the last decade, a revolution has occurred in the way that scientists think about the brain. We now know that the decisions humans make can be traced to the firing patterns of neurons in specific parts of the brain. These discoveries have led to the field known as neuroeconomics, which studies the brain's secrets to success in an economic environment that demands innovation and being able to do things differently from competitors. So neuroeconomics. These discoveries have led to the field known as neuroeconomics. Now I'm gonna highlight that. Okay. Which studies the brain's secrets to success in an economic environment that demands innovation and being able to do things differently from competitors. All right, so in other words, is a field of study which seeks to understand how the brain is linked. So brain's secret to success in an economic environment that demands innovation and being able to do things differently from competitors. Being successful, something like cause a change in how scientists understand brain chemistry, understand how good decisions are made at the brain, understand how the brain is linked in the achievement in competitive fields. Yes, there we go, we have the option C there. Right, so trace the specific firing patterns of neurons in different areas of the brain. No, as I told you before, that every single option is kind of very similar, as they are taken from a place where you're obviously going to be finding the answer for. So you have to be careful with that. According to the they are distinctive. Okay. A brain can do this in an iconoclastic one. Briefly, an iconoclast is a person who does something that others say can be done. So it's a really interesting question here. Meaning they're distinctive, something they cannot do. This definition implies that iconoclasts are different from other people. There we go, we have iconoclasts, they are different from other people, but more precisely, it is their brains that are different in three distinctive ways: perception, fear response, and social intelligence. Okay, so they are distinctive because their brains are different. They create unusual brain circuits? No. Their personalities are sick. No, that is not that personality. Their brains function differently. Brain works efficiently because each of these three functions utilizes a different circuit in the brain. Naysayers might suggest that the brain is irrelevant, that thinking in an original, even revolutionary way is more a matter of personality rather than brain function. But the field of neuroeconomics was born out of the realization that the physical workings of the brain place limitations on the way we make decisions. By understanding these constraints, we begin to understand why some people march to a different drum beat. Okay, the first thing to realize is that brain suffers from limited resources. Once again, the brain works efficiently. It has a fixed energy budget, about the same as a 40-watt light bulb. So it has evolved to work as efficiently as possible. This is where most people are impeded from being an iconoclast. It's a really interesting thing that is still they're mentioning about. This is a really good thing to why I'm reading this. Why am I reading this in this particular tone or such slowly, with giving some intonations and some stressing out the words, because when you're doing reading passage, it doesn't matter. It could be first or the second or the whole test. It's just when you're reading, it's just like you are learning something from it. So this is where most people are impeded from being an iconoclast. This is impede is like where they stop. Impede means impeding something. This means to delay or stop the progress of something. It's like hindering or hampering. So then, for example, when confronted with information streaming from the eyes, the brain will interpret this information in the quickest way possible. Thus, it will draw on both past experience and another source of information, such as what other people say, to make sense of what it's seeing. This happens all the time. The brain makes shortcuts to work so well we are hardly ever aware of them. We think our perceptions of our perceptions of the world are real, but they are only biological and electrical rumblings. What does it make? It uses eyes quickly, interprets data logically, generates its own energy, it relies on previous events. I think this is the option, probably, because it realizes as confronted with information. When they see an information through the eyes, their brain will interpret this information. They will use this information in the quickest way possible. So they will try to make conclusions from past experience and any other source of information, such as what other people say, to make sense of what it is seeing. So yeah, it's not about the eyes quickly interprets data logically. There's nothing about logical. The writer said that perception is something about the perception. Okay. We think our perceptions of the world are real, but they are only biological and electrical rumblings. Perception is not simply a product of what our eyes or ears transmit to our brain. More than a physical reality, photons and sound waves, perception is a product of the brain. A combination of photons and sound waves, a reliable product of what your senses transmit, a result of the brain processes, a process we are usually conscious of. I think more than the physical reality of photons and sound waves, perception is a product of the brain, a result of brain process. That's what I think. But because no, a combination of photons and sound waves, no, the perception is more than physical, more than means other than photons and sound waves. Reliable product of what your senses transmit? Absolutely not. A process we're usually conscious of? Not again. According to the writer, an iconoclastic thinker is. All right. Did we find iconoclastic thinker there? No, we didn't find. Okay. Perception is central to iconoclasm. Iconoclasts see. So I'm gonna highlight that. See things differently from other people. Their brains do not fall into efficiency pitfalls as much as the average person's brain. Iconoclasts, either because they were born that way or through learning, have found ways to work around the perceptual shortcuts that plague most people. So iconoclasts, either because they were born that way or through learning, they have found ways to work around the perceptual shortcuts that plague most people. you know, so they can avoid, so they do not fall into efficiency. Pitfall means pitfall is like a hole that traps you. So cognitive traps. So perceptual shortcuts is like a cognitive one. So let's see, avoiding cognitive traps. Yes, that's going to be the answer because centralizes perceptual thinking in one part of the brain. No, it's not saying anything about that. Has a brain that is hardwired for learning. No, they're not. It's not hardwired for learning. They didn't say that it's hardwired for learning. It comes either from birth or through learning. It's one of them, but it's not hardwired, meaning it's kind of installed there. Has more opportunities than the average person. Has more opportunities than the average person? No, they don't have opportunities. They just don't fall into traps. All right, now yes, no, not given questions. Okay, then these kinds of questions we have to know that they follow the order, so it's going to be a fair enough chance. Exposure to different events forces the brain to think differently. Okay, exposure to different events. I'm going to highlight that. Now I'm going to choose yellow, I guess. Iconoclasts are unusually receptive to new experience. Are unusually receptive, meaning they receive information extraordinarily. Most people are too shy to try different things. Now, I'm gonna highlight that, too shyness. If you think in an iconoclastic way, you can easily overcome fear. When concern about embarrassment matters less, other fears become irrelevant. Fear of public speaking is a psychological illness. All right, the best way. No, what is not. It is a learned process which is a both curse and an opportunity for change. The brain faces the fundamental problem of interpreting physical stimuli for the senses. Okay. Everything the brain sees, hears, or touches has multiple interpretations. The one that is I'm gonna highlight that. The one that is ultimately chosen is simply the brain's best theory. In technical terms, these conjectures have their basis in their statistical likelihood of one interpretation over another and are heavily influenced by past experience and, importantly, for potential iconoclasts, what other people say. And the best way to see things differently to other people is to bombard the brain with things it has never encountered before. Bombard the brain meaning to shock it. Okay. Novelty releases the perceptual process from the chains of past experiences, forces the brain to make new judgments. Successful iconoclasts have an extraordinary willingness to be exposed to what is fresh and different. All right. So, receiving information, how iconoclasts receive receiving information by iconoclasts, meaning observation of iconoclasts, shows that they embrace novelty while most people avoid things that are different. Okay, so exposure to different events forces the brain to think differently, and I can see that see things differently means something it has never encountered before. Encountered before is like different events. Making new judgments. I can see making new judgments, which means to think differently. So yeah, I think that's the answer. Yes. Iconoclasts are unusually receptive to new experiences, and remember, successful iconoclasts had an extraordinary willingness to be exposed to what is fresh and indifferent. Yes, that is an answer. Yes, because it's saying unusually receptive to new experiences. That means they have extraordinary willingness. Means unusual receptive willingness to be exposed, to learn, to what is fresh and different. Meaning. To new experiences, fresh and different. Most people are too shy to try different things. Most people are too shy. The problem with novelty, however, that shyness. Okay. He says that most people avoid things that are different, but he doesn't it doesn't really necessarily say that they're shy, but I'm just gonna say no, given for now. If I find it, I'm just going to change it. All right. The problem with novelty, however, is that it tends to trigger the brain's fear system. Okay, I'm gonna highlight that as well. Fear is a major impediment to thinking like an iconoclast and stops the average person in his tricks. There are many types of fear, but the two that inhibit iconoclastic thinking and people are generally find it difficult to deal with are fear of uncertainty and fear of public ridicule. If you think in an iconoclastic way, you can easily overcome fear. No, it's actually fear is a major impediment. We remember the meaning of the word impeding, meaning to stop the. Is a major stopping concern, major stopping problem. Meaning, no, it's so like fear is a major impediment thinking like an iconoclastic way and stops the average person in his tracks. So it's actually different. They cannot overcome fear. It is actually difficult to become an iconoclastic because they have the fear, that they will eventually stop doing something, meaning like a person in his tracks. So it's like they're saying that if you want to become an iconoclast, then you will have to overcome several types of fears, which tends to stop the average person in his tracks. And his tracks is like to stop or to not know what they were doing or they are doing. So that's going to be no. When concerned about embarrassment matters less, other fears become irrelevant. They're saying that these may seem like trivial phobias, but fear of public speaking, which everyone must do from time to time, afflicts 1/3 of the population. This makes it too common to be considered a mental disorder. Okay, it's too common to be considered a mental disorder. Whoops, no, I wanna return that. It is simply a common variant of human nature, one which iconoclasts do not let inhibit their reactions. So, I remember that there's a fear of public ridicule. Fear of public ridicule is like as an embarrassment. So like other fears become irrelevant, but we're not told if they will become irrelevant. So I think that's going to be not given. We are not told about that. There's nothing we have to search. There's nothing about about this statement that we can search for. Fear of public speaking is a psychological illness. Now it's too common. It was too common as a mental disorder. This makes it too common to be considered as a mental disorder. We remember that. So that's the answer. It's going to be no. There we go, guys. We finished yes, no, given. Now we are left with 3 more. Thinking like a successful iconoclast is demanding because it. Do we have anything here? So. Thinking like a successful iconoclast is demanding because it is. Finally, to be successful iconoclasts, individuals must sell their ideas to other people. They must sell their ideas to other people. Now I want to use the cyan. This is where social intelligence comes in. Social intelligence, okay. Social intelligence is the ability to understand and manage people in a business setting. In the last decade, there has been an explosion of knowledge about the social brain. There has been an explosion of the knowledge and social brain, how the brain works when groups coordinate with decision making. Neuroscience has revealed which brain circuits are responsible for functions like understanding what other people think, empathy, fairness, and social identity. These brain regions play key roles in whether people convince others of their ideas. Okay. Perception is important in social cognition too. When perception of someone's enthusiasm or reputation can make or break a deal. Understanding how perception becomes intertwined with social decision making shows why successful iconoclasts are so rare. Thinking like a successful iconoclast is so demanding because Why is it? To be successful iconoclasts, individuals must sell their ideas to other people. And this is where social intelligence comes in. Social intelligence is the ability to understand and manage people in a business setting. Perception is important in social cognition too. I want to highlight that as well. Requires both perceptual and social intelligence skills. Focuses on how groups decide on an action. Works in many fields, both artistic and scientific. Leaves one open to criticism and rejection. Involves understanding how organizations manage people. I know to be successful iconoclast, you have to be open. You have to sell your idea, meaning it requires perceptual and social intelligence. Social intelligence comes in. So social intelligence is the ability to understand, and blah blah blah. And then perception is important in social cognition. So there are two things, and I think there's going to be better. The letter A is going to be the answer for us. The concept of the social brain is useful to iconoclasts because it, and we know that in the there was a phrase in the last decade. There has been an explosion of knowledge about the social brain and how the brain works when groups coordinate decision making. Neuroscience has revealed which brain circuits are responsible for functions like understanding what other people think, empathy, fairness, and social identity. These brain regions play key roles in whether people convince others of their ideas. The concept of social brain is useful to iconoclasts because this is kind of, and what are they saying is that so that these brains play key roles on whether people convince other of their ideas. Social brain, how the brain works when groups coordinate decision making, and which brain circuits are responsible. Brain circuits are responsible for functions like understanding what other people think, empathy, fairness, and social identity. I think that is B. How groups decide in an action, decision making. So I think that's B here. Alright, whoops, somehow this one didn't hit here. It has to be B. I just messed up here, guys. Alright, there we go. Remove that. It's when you concentrate too much on the text, you just tend to forget sometimes. Iconoclasts are generally an asset because their way of thinking. It's such a rich thing because something. Iconoclasts create new opportunities in every area, from artistic expression to technology to business. They supply creativity and innovation not easily accomplished by committees. Rules aren't important to them. Iconoclasts face alienation and failure, but can also be a major asset to any organization. It is crucial for success in any field to understand how the iconoclastic mind works. So they're saying that they can work in any field. So the works in many fields, both artistic and scientific. So that's probably what I think. So it's going like ABC. Okay, I hope the answers are correct. Of course, at the end of the video, I'm going to be checking whether or not I did it correctly. So there you go, guys. We pretty much finished them all. Remember, when you're doing multiple choice questions, just recall to yourself that you just read the questions, but you never read the answers because they are similar. Then you must understand that in order to make the yes no not given and true false not given questions, you can just convert them to make it as a question and find the answer for that question. And also you have to know that the yes or not given questions, together with the true false not given, they follow the order of the passage. Which means once you find the answer number 1 from here, that means probably number 2 will be here from the following sentences here or there and something like that. But but there might be a chance that you might encounter before that, but 95 or 98% of the time I never, it's not like 100% of the time. I wouldn't say, I wouldn't even give it like 95 or 98, but 100% of the time I never encountered encountered yes or no given questions or true false no given questions not coming in order. And finally, this sentence endings, they sometimes come in order, sometimes they don't. So there you go, guys. We finished finally test number 2. In the follow-up video, we're going to be dealing with test number 3 and then 4, and eventually go into the Cambridge number 18. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, you can leave your questions in the comment section below. I'll be very happy to respond that. And if you find the video so helpful, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button and that bell to stay notified about the new upcoming walkthrough series. And yeah, there you go, guys. Thank you very much for watching and have a wonderful time.